that was fun. Hi everyone, Sammy Flair here. Welcome back to Bolt Action, the series where I would be popping champagne right now in celebration of the Lightning making the playoffs, except, as you probably guessed, I'm not at home. Yes, that's right. Welcome to the first ever episode of Bolt Action that's filmed on location from the most okayest hotel in Arizona. And I can already hear you asking, Sammy, why on earth would you be filming in Arizona? Were you called out there to film something exclusive for the Coyotes since they're leaving Arizona and headed to Salt Lake City? No, the answer is actually far more boring than that. It's just my normal job took me here. A job that currently has me on the final day of a 9-day business trip in which I have been in a different city every single day, sometimes 2 different cities every single day, which I hope contextualizes why my uploads have been less frequent as of late. Maybe I should start a travel blog too. No, don't do that. You don't need more content ideas that you can't keep up with. I want to talk about, real quick, the end of the Tampa Bay Lightning season and put a nice little bow on that. After that, I want to film a series preview for their upcoming first round series, the Battle of Florida. Tampa Bay versus Florida, Lightning Panthers. Should be a lot of fun, should be messy. That's coming up as soon as I'm done recording whatever this video is. And then after that, I want to record a Stanley Cup playoff overview, preview, something or another. But I have about 90 minutes to do all of that before my body ends up hating me and immediately just falls asleep in this chair. Oh, that also means a really long day of editing tomorrow. Maybe this wasn't a good idea. Anyway, the Tampa Bay Lightning finished the season with a final record of 45 wins, 29 losses, and 8 overtime losses for 98 points. That's 2 points better than what we projected was going to be the cutoff line for the playoffs. In other words, it was that idea that you need to come away with 12 points every 10 games. That gets you 96 points in most seasons. That gets you in the playoffs. Congratulations, you did the thing! This also marks the 7th straight season that the Tampa Bay Lightning have made the Stanley Cup playoffs, as well as being the 10th season where they make the playoffs under head coach John Cooper. Actually, Cooper has only not made the playoffs once in his tenure as the Tampa Bay Lightning head coach, minus the season where he was a mid-season replacement and they were doomed for failure anyway. And so how did we get to this point? Because if you recall, and if you've been watching this series for the entirety of the season, you'll know that the first couple of months, they were rough with all the injuries that they were dealing with, particularly to Andrei Vasilevsky, and the lack of defense and the lack of depth scoring and just a lack of everything overall. It did not seem like this team was going to be playoff caliber. They were going to sneak in by the skin of their teeth. And even though they finished the season as the number 1 wild card team, they still amassed enough points to have been 3rd place in the Metro Division if they played over there. And really, they only finished 4 points behind the Toronto Maple Leafs, who were looking like a wagon at the beginning of this season. And considering how big of a deficit there was between the Leafs and the Lightning all season long, I don't know that anybody can be really upset about where they finished. And really, ever since losing that first round series, getting swept in that first round series against the Columbus Blue Jackets back in 2018-2019, it really hasn't seemed like the Lightning particularly care about getting the President's Trophy, about getting the number 1 seed in the East, or winning the Atlantic even. They just care about getting in. And the more that this team plays together, and the more that this team wins together in the postseason, they know, we don't really need home ice advantage. We know we can go toe-to-toe with anybody, so let's just get there. But I still haven't answered the question. How did we get here? How did the Tampa Bay Lightning manage to make the playoffs? How did they manage to go on such a tear, considering that the first part of the season, really the first half of this season, was pretty mid? And the answer is simple. The answer is that guy. Just so much of that guy. Nikita Kucherov breaks his own record and still maintains the most points scored in a season in Tampa Bay Lightning history. He shattered it, in fact. It was previously 128 points, and this season he came away with an astounding 144 points. That does, by the way, include, let's remember this, he became the 5th player in NHL history, all of NHL history, to record 100 assists in a single season. Who are the other 4 names on that list? A bunch of nobodies who kind of just lucked into it because they played with really good teams. Just names like Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux and Bobby Orr and Connor McDavid, who did it a game before Nikita Kucherov did, because Obviously. Kucherov also broke the NHL record for most assists by a winger and broke his own record for the most points scored by a Russian-born player. Again, was 128, now it's 144. And since the NHL season has officially wrapped up tonight, I can officially say that Nikita Kucherov is your 2023-2024 Art Ross Trophy winner. Congrats, Cooch. That race, it could have gone anybody's direction, especially down the stretch here. Nobody really knew what was going to happen, but I, for one, am thrilled that Kucherov takes that home. And in my estimation, it will be a different video, but I think it is the strongest case for him to also win the Hart Trophy. But again, we're going to push that to a later video. But one Nikita Kucherov does not a team make. There are also multiple contributions across the board from other players. Here are just a few of the highlights. The Lightning had 2 point-per-game players this season, obviously Nikita Kucherov being one of them, Braden Point being the other one, and Steven Stamkos falling 1 game short. Actually, let me look at that real quick. Did he play all 82 games? He did not. I take it back. Steven Stamkos only played 79 games this year, got 81 points. Therefore, Lightning have 3 point-per-game players. I mean, I guess it makes sense for Stamkos. He is in a contract year after all. Somehow, the team also had 3 40 goal scorers this year, and you probably already guessed who they are. Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, and Steven Stamkos. Steven Stamkos finished tied for 3rd in the power play goals category with 19. The Lightning finished with the league's best power play once again at 28.6% and the 5th best penalty kill at 83.3%. That latter one did not look like it was going to be anywhere close to reality early on in the season. Goaltender Andrei Vasilevskiy finished with his 7th straight 30-win season, which is particularly impressive considering the fact that, again, he missed the first 20 games of this season, and in the next 20 games plus just really didn't look like his old self. We had no idea what was going on here. And he looked really, really good towards the end of this season, which gives me a lot of hope and hopefully gives a lot of fear to the Florida Panthers. But let's put it this way. In his final 12 games of this season, he posted 6 games where his save percentage was .938 or better. To their credit, the defense did get better as the season went on, albeit at a snail's pace they went better. There was a point in time where the Lightning were the best scoring team in the league, as in they scored the most goals, and they were the worst defensive team, meaning they let in the most goals. That's a bad look. Look, all I'm saying is when you're scoring at the level of the Colorado Avalanche, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Edmonton Oilers, and you're getting scored on at the rate of the San Jose Sharks and the Chicago Blackhawks, you probably need to make some changes. And make changes they did. Make no mistake, the Lightning were a high-powered offense all season long, but the defense was one of the biggest causes for concern, and slowly over time, they chipped away. They found out what pairings made the most sense. The goalie play started getting better, and they got back on the positive side of the goal differential. They finished at a plus 23. That's good enough for 12th in the league. And again, considering that you were on the negative side early on this season, really up until about the halfway point, I'm going to call that success. At home, especially in the second half of the season, they were a wagon. They finished 25, 11, and 5. On the road, they technically had a winning record at 20-18 and 3, but that's a Gary Bettman winning record. But in reality, an overtime loss is still a loss, so they were 20 and 21. I think the turning point for this team was that March 7th loss to the Calgary Flames, where they just, let's call it what it is, they got embarrassed at home. But after that, in their final 18 games, they won 12 of them, lost another 2 in overtime or the shootout. And look, if you want to pick a time to be on a hot streak and a time to be getting things together, then, you know, right before the playoffs, it's probably the best time to do it. And as I sit back and I trace how I felt about this team through the course of the season, from outright optimism out of the gate despite the fact of not having Andrei Vasilevskiy, to cautious optimism and just thinking, oh, things are clearly going to get better. And then Andrei Vasilevskiy comes back, and now all of a sudden I'm angry because the team's not playing well. Then they get injured, and so I'm angry. And that anger starts to turn into despair, and then they slowly just start to turn things around, and the optimism returns, the cautious optimism returns, to the outright excitement. To now, I think this team is playoff worthy. They are playoff ready. And they have a hell of a first test in the Florida Panthers. Let me tell you right out of the gate, it's going to be a bloodbath. And that's why you play the game, right? I could have easily written this team off at game 21, at game 46, at game 52, and just said, no, they don't have it in them anymore. But they continued to push and push and push. and I'm so incredibly proud of what they have managed to accomplish. Let's see what the hell they can do in these playoffs. As far as this series is concerned here on YouTube, I had set out for myself this goal of covering the Lightning for the entire season, a goal which I technically did accomplish, but I originally had it in my mind as covering them week over week, which I did a pretty good job of up until about February or March. And look, life gets in the way sometimes. I understand that things happen. I have to give myself grace on that one. All that to say, I'm going to do this again. I learned enough things that I feel like I know how to make it better at this point. It's still a long ways down the road for me to do a game-by-game coverage. I am not Steve Dangle. This is not in my immediate future. But for what it was worth and the amount of effort that I put into it, I genuinely enjoyed making these videos. And I feel like I grew over time and learned how to best communicate what was on my mind rather than just spit statistics at you and try to, I don't know, be whatever the hell kind of presenter that is. The Bolt Action will return again, albeit in a slightly different format. I'm going to take the off season. I'm going to think about how to refine this series to be more what I want it to be, how to make it more accessible, how to make it more palatable, and really just how to make it more fun and engaging and interactive for you, the viewer. I love you. While this does mark the final episode of Bolt Action for this regular season, there is still plenty more content to come for this postseason. I mentioned at the top of this video that I'm going to try to record 2 more videos tonight. The first being a series preview against the Florida Panthers, the second being a Stanley Cup playoffs preview, 1 rounds, 4 rounds, I don't know, however many. I'm going to record something depending on how much time I have here tonight. And as long as it is within my power, I am going to be streaming live commentary for every single Tampa Bay Lightning postseason game. Again, there are 2 major factors here. Number 1, Lightning have to still be in it. That one seems obvious. But number 2, as long as I'm home, meaning I'm not taking 10-day business trips at a time, I will be live streaming each and every Lightning postseason game on Twitch starting this Sunday, April 21st, Game 1 against the Florida Panthers. And with that in mind, I really have nothing else to say. I truly don't. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for giving me just a little bit of your time week after week or whenever you happen to jump onto this series. I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed watching this series as much as I have enjoyed making it. Oh boy, it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks here in the postseason, but if you don't catch any of that, then maybe I'll see you again next season, right? Right? But until I see you again, remember, go Bolts, and Battle of Florida starts in 3 days. Oh my word, am I ready for this?